In today's video, we're going to be covering the best players you should be looking to go and buy ahead of double game week 34 and look at every single team who's doubling, identify the best assets if you're on a free hit or if you're just on transfers that you should have in your team for this game week. Before we dive into today's video, I just want to say that we're trying to hit 4,000 subscribers by the end of the season, so if you do want to help me hit that goal, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe being the main one to help us achieve that goal. Now we're going to start off with the two early kickoff boys who shone in that game. I've got them both in my team. Obviously no double game week for Newcastle in 34, but I still feel it's pretty relevant to talk about these guys as potential transfer targets for this week because they've got Crystal Palace away. It's not the worst fixture in the world. Newcastle is starting to pick up some good momentum going into the back end of the season. Some very positive fixtures to go with that as well. Crystal Palace, Sheffield United, Burnley, then a double of Brighton and Manchester United, and then on the final day, Brentford. So some great fixtures in there for Newcastle. You know, a real positive performance and result as well against Tottenham. So I think that'll give him a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum. And Anthony Gordon and Alexander Isak are probably the two best assets from this team. Actually, they just are. There's no getting around it. They are the two best assets from this side. Now, I've owned Isak for a few weeks. I've been the beneficiary of what he's been cooking over there at St. James's Park. 6 goals in his past 5 game weeks. Good underlying data as well to go with it. As you can see, plenty of shots, plenty in the box as well, plenty on target. Coming up with a few, assists as well, which is always what we like to see from our forwards. He is at the heartbeat of everything good that Newcastle do going forward. I definitely think if you are not on a free hit, maybe a little bit unsure about maybe Darwin's minutes this week, I think Isak would be a very, very safe bet. Good fixtures going forward as well, like I said, for Newcastle United, and a double a little bit further down the line. He could be one of these players that absolutely cooks this game week, despite not having a double game week. We always see it. We kind of sometimes over-focus on the double game weeks and forget players that have positive single game week fixtures, and I feel Alexander Isak could be one of these players. Moving on to the man next to him, it is Anthony Gordon, arguably one of the best midfielders in the game this season throughout the whole of the campaign. I think maybe if he'd have stayed injury-free, he probably would have been up there for like top players in terms of midfielders for price. I think Palmer edges it at the moment, but if Anthony Gordon had stayed fit for the rest, like the whole season, he definitely would be in this bracket or this conversation at least. A very good performance from him today. 1 goal, 2 assists as well. I brought him in last week for Saka. It didn't quite work out last week, obviously. Saka got his lucky penalty. I said that Anthony Gordon was extremely unlucky, and I genuinely thought that because I thought he had a brilliant game against Fulham. He's then gone back that up with another strong performance against Spurs, and this time has come away with the goods as well. So I think if you're looking for a cheap midfielder this week, again, good long-term fixtures. I think there's a lot of quality midfield this week, so maybe people might not be going for Anthony Gordon. But like I said, he has got a good fixture this week. Don't be kind of blindsided by the doubles and think they're the be-all and end-all. If a player has got a positive fixture in a single game week, they've got double game week coming up. They've got Sheffield United next week as well. So these guys could be great assets to go and pick up, regardless of them not having a double this game week. Moving away from single game week players, we're going to focus on teams that are doubling in game week 34. Now, there are 2 teams that I have missed out on here, Crystal Palace and Everton. I feel for Everton, there aren't any kind of real strong assets. Liverpool in the second fixture as well. It's not a great double for them. Nottingham Forest pretty resilient as well in terms of defence, and they've been pretty good going forward as well. So no Everton players I would recommend. In terms of Crystal Palace, I reckon it probably would be Eze, would be probably the one that I would be looking to go and get this game week. Outside of that, maybe a defender, but at the end of the day, I think there's a lot better options. So we're going to start off with Arsenal because realistically, if you're on a free hit, if you're transferring, you probably want to be on triple Arsenal this week for their double. They obviously take on Wolves away and then Chelsea at home in their double game week. Pretty good fixtures for Arsenal, you can't lie about that. They've been in very, very good form as well. Yet to play in game week 33, so this is past 5 game week data, so it might potentially change over the next few weeks. Interestingly, a man that I've not really been considering, it is Kai Havertz over the past 5 game weeks. 43 points. He's leading the way in terms of all Arsenal assets, putting on some really, really good data. So I think potentially he could be a player that's going massively under the radar and people are kind of not really focusing on him. If you're on a free hit this week, he could be a huge differential for you. I'm thinking about potentially bringing him. 3 goals, 3 assists. Good underlying data as well. Let's see what he does tomorrow. But other than that, I think he could be a great, fantastic pickup for the double game week. Martin Odegaard, I think you know what you're getting with him. He is very kind of secure, as you can see, up there for top minutes, outside of the 2 centre-backs who you would expect to play every single minute. So he's definitely up there as well. Very consistent in his minutes. You know what you're going to get from him. Data-wise, it's been okay from Martin Odegaard, but it's nothing compared to what Kai Havertz has been putting up. So I think it's all right. He does play pretty consistently, but I wouldn't be expecting anything over the moon from him. The defender-wise, I think both are great picks. Obviously, there has been rumours that Gabriel wasn't seen in training yesterday. Let's just wait and see what's happening with the Arsenal game beforehand, this week, and see if he is potentially available for that one. But I think Saliba, Raya as well, who's not on this list as well, is a fantastic player. I think going for the double Arsenal defence is definitely a route, that you potentially could go for. I think I am leaning slightly towards a defender, Havertz and Saka, but if you wanted to go for that double up in defence, I wouldn't argue with it. Arsenal are top for XG conceded, top for clean sheets as well in the league. Very good defensive record. So yeah, I think both of these guys and the double up and Raya are all really good picks for this game week. And then moving on to Saka now. As you can see, 1 goal, 2 assists from him. The lowest point scorer on this list over the past 5. It's not been overly great, but I feel like he is one of those players that can cook at any moment, and I would expect him to do incredibly well over this double game week. So I think if you have him, keep him. If you're on the free hit, probably go and get him as well, because I think going for that triple Arsenal up is going to be essential if you are on the free hit strategy. Moving on to the other team, I'm going to recommend people triple up if they are on a free hit or dead end in their team into game week 35. It is going to be Liverpool. Again, very solid double for them. Fulham and Everton, both quite, down the bottom leaky-ish defences that you can definitely exploit over this double game week. Obviously, there's the big candidate. It is Mohamed Salah. He's probably going to be your captain for this week. I think his data has been absolutely exceptional. Very unfortunate not to get more attacking returns. As you can see from his XG, absolutely slapping everybody bar the XG merchant, Darwin Núñez, out of the water. Only 2 goals for him. Very unfortunate. I do think he will be one of these players that will cook over that double game week. If you've got the triple captainship left as well, definitely a sensible one to go for. Now, in terms of other players, I think Salah will be number 1. Then maybe a defender. Liverpool haven't kept a clean sheet since game week 21, which is a long time ago since they last managed to keep a clean sheet. So I'm a little bit hesitant about recommending defenders. I think the only one that I probably would go for is Virgil. Now, Trent and Robertson are fully back, but you've got Connor Bradley lurking around, Tsimikas. You've got all these other players that potentially could infiltrate that starting 11, maybe see a little bit of rotation. Klopp is prone to it sometimes. I think Virgil probably is the only player that would not see any rotation. Same with that front line. Luis Diaz, Darwin, Gakpo. I'm currently sat on Luis Diaz. I think he's doing exceptionally well over the past few weeks. Definitely going under the radar as a little bit of a differential. But with so many players being back, I've even forgot Diego Jota. With him being back as well, there is so much rotation. It's going to be extremely difficult to call if both these players, Darwin, Luis Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, all play 1 game or maybe like 120 minutes max. It's going to be extremely difficult to call. But at the moment, I think I'm favouring Luis Diaz, Salah, and Virgil. But we're going to have to see how Liverpool line up tomorrow. See what kind of, lineup they go for. Does Luis Diaz maybe drop out? Does Darwin drop out after European football? It's, so many changes, so many players that could do well with limited minutes as well. Luis Diaz or Darwin could do well with about 100 minutes. It's very possible. It is a double game week. It would not surprise me that could very easily happen. Now, a player I haven't mentioned and leading the way in terms of point scoring over the past 5 game weeks for Liverpool, it is McAllister. Now, that's not a name I was expecting to be up there so high. 2 goals, 1 assist for him. Now, in terms of the data, it's not anything kind of mesmeric or eye-watering. It feels a little bit like when Douglas Luiz was getting his lucky penalties and long shot goals. That's how it feels to me. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a quality longer-term pick. So I think I would prefer the likes of Luis Diaz and Darwin, even Jota if we get any indication that he's going to play a large proportion of game time in the double game week over McAllister. Moving on to some of the lesser teams in double game week 34, we are going to start off with Wolves. Now, the top player for them over the past 5 game weeks has been Ait-Nouri, despite not even featuring in today's game. He missed out due to an injury, so we're going to have to wait and see on that one. See what Gary O'Neill is kind of indicating, whether or not he's going to be available for this double game week. Maybe he might be a player that we do go and avoid altogether, because if he's not fully fit, he might miss out on one of the games, or maybe see reduced minutes over this period. But when you get a defender that is playing out of position like he has been doing, it is exceptional. It is a cheat code in the game, and that is why he's the top scoring player over this time period. It is just that fitness that is a little bit of a concern for me, so probably one that I would err on the kind of side of caution. In terms of the other Wolves defenders, I'm not overly keen, especially with them having Arsenal as one of the games as well. They could very easily go and get slapped in that, and then if they concede against Bournemouth, a team that are doing very well for XG at the moment, it could be very much like a bleak outcome. But I think, Ait-Nouri, unless we get any positive encouragement, probably is still going to be an avoid. In terms of the other players that have been doing well over the past 5 game weeks, Sarabia has been pretty consistent, playing a lot of minutes as well. If you are looking for maybe a cheap enabler on the free hit, or if you're looking for a cheap enabler on your side, maybe you're playing the bench boost this week, you just need one of those players on the bench that's going to double. I think Sarabia would be a nice little pickup as well. Good underlying data as well. It is going to be interesting to see who does take the penalties with Hwan Hee-chan back, Sarabia, Cunha. It is going to be a big toss-up to see who does, take that responsibility on, because that is where he got his goal from. It was from the spot, not in open play. So it is going to be an interesting one to see how he does with potentially no penalties over this double game week. And then Cunha, he is one that I have been recommending to people. I told my dad to go and bring him in. He did. He benched him this week, unfortunately. So that's a little bit unlucky for my dad. So yeah, that's not worked out the best. But the double game week coming up for him and Wolves, he's been slowly migrated back into the side over the past few game weeks. As you can see, 125 minutes. Like I said, he's coming back from a longer term injury, just slowly being fed back into that side, and it's paid dividends today against Nottingham Forest with a brace. Definitely a player I would be having on the free here. Definitely a player I would be looking to get in as well at 5.5 million. With the other striker options like Darwin Núñez potentially being a little bit of a minutes risk. The other forward options as well, not being overly kind of positive in terms of double game weeks. I definitely think he stands out as one of the shining lights in that forward department. Now finishing up, I have got Hwan Hee-chan on here. He came off the bench today. Again, I think they might manage his minutes over the course of the double game week. So probably a player I wouldn't be looking to get in, but I know I'm going to be asked a few questions about it. But I think with him coming back from a long-term injury, I think it's probably an easy avoid for this double game week. Now, I never thought I'd actually see the day that I put 2 Sheffield United players in a transfer recommendation video. I never thought it'd happen, but here we are. It is Ollie McBurney and it is Ben Brereton Diaz. The double for Sheffield United is a game against Burnley and Manchester United. You feel that's a big game for Burnley in their hopes of survival, but it's probably could be the nail in the coffin. Sheffield United recently have had an upturn in kind of overall data and performance levels. I know they got beat by Brentford today. I wouldn't be expecting them to go and beat, Manchester United, but defensively, they do leave some questions. So I think if I was looking for any of their players, it probably would be between these two, because they've been the 2 in-form players over the past 5 game weeks. As you can see from their data as well, pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. You can't lie about that. The data that they have been putting up over the past 5, it's all right. It's genuinely not bad for a promotion team. And with a game like Burnley, where you feel it could be quite open, quite scrappy, both teams kind of nothing to really play for. You feel Burnley do have more to play for than Sheffield United. And you feel like players like Ollie McBurney, Ben Brereton Diaz, who've been amongst the goals in recent weeks, could have a little bit of a field day. Now, the United game as well, United are currently bottom for XG conceded over the past 5 game weeks. They're 16th overall for the season as well. They're 17th for shots conceded. These guys probably at that point are just going to be playing for fun at Old Trafford. When are you going to get that opportunity again? Just have a little bit of fun. Try and score a goal. Try and, create something. Maybe have a little bit of fun with it. I feel if anyone is going to score for Sheffield United over this double game week, it is probably going to be one of these 2. Now, I think these are only realistic options if you're on a free hit. Transfer-wise, I don't think I'd be burning a transfer on this unless I'm dead ending next week, because you don't want to be stuck with these guys longer term. It's not a real good move, to be honest. But like I said, free hit options, I think they could, you know, offer themselves up. And maybe a transfer if you're dead ending and wildcarding 35. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't look at bringing in any Sheffield United players. And finishing up today's video, and the final team we're going to take a look at that I feel are worth investing in, or at least a few players from these sides, it is going to be AFC Bournemouth. Now, I am recording this while they are taking on Manchester United. They are 1-0 up. I'd just like to say, I did call that. I told you United are a poor defence. I told you Dominic Solanke was going to score. It's happened. So, we're going to start off with Dominic Solanke. I think he would be the #1 candidate from Bournemouth if I'm on the free hit, or if I'm looking to dead end and transfer in this week. They've got an okay fixture afterwards as well with Brighton, so you could very easily hold him for 35 if you're just looking like transfer wise. You've not got a wild card to use in 35. You can update that as well to say 3 goals rather than 2. He is up there for XG over the course of the season. I think he's 3rd in terms of all Premier League players as well, having a very, very good season on penalties as well. I know that one he missed against Luton in the double game week, but don't think too much into it. He slipped. It's not going to happen every single week. He will be back on penalties. His form over the past few weeks hasn't been quite at the races. But he's got a goal against Manchester United now. Maybe this will spur him on, maybe kick on into the double game week. 2 Midlands-based clubs, 2 away games, but you could very easily see Dominic Solanke being the key provider for both of these games, being the, you know, the talisman that he is, the key figure for that Bournemouth side. He is the #1 asset that I would be looking to go for from Bournemouth. Now, any other kind of midfielders I don't think are worth it because there's too much risk and rotation. In terms of defence, I think there are 2 players. There's obviously Zabania, who became a very popular asset over the past few weeks with his heroics. Again, I think he's a really good pickup if you're looking for a defender. 4.5 million. You're not going to expect too much from him. Now, the other one who's just come back from injury, it is Senesi. He's got an assist against Manchester United already as well in that game. So I think that assist will make him a little bit more of a popular asset. He's a little bit cheaper as well at 4.4 million. So if you are, you know, a little bit conscious about price, those, you know, 0.1 million, maybe it helps you get another bigger player in that doubles this week. Maybe it helps you afford Mohamed Salah. Then Senesi being 4.4 million will probably be the difference, and probably a player you should be going for over Zabania. But there isn't too much in terms of like kind of to go for off the back of them. I think Senesi does have that little bit more attacking threat, as we've seen throughout the course of this season, over Zabania, but both would be pretty solid pickups. I can't lie on that one. Thank you very much for watching today's video. If you've got any questions about your team or any transfers you should be making this game week, leave it in the comments section below, and I will try to answer as many as I possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck this game week.